What's going on, YouTube? So we live in an electrified world, and increasingly so, brands are coming out with more and more full electric vehicles, as well as plug-in hybrids and just regular hybrids. But what I'm seeing next to right now is the all-new 2023 Toyota bZ4X, which is one of those new all-electric vehicles. And this one is promising to be one of the most affordable all-electric vehicles that you can buy. So without further ado, let's go ahead and take a detailed look at this bZ4X and see if this is the EV for you. Alright guys, so we're start out with the exterior of the bZ4X. This is going to have a very unique design. Honestly, it looks unlike any other Toyota product out there. It has a lot of really cool design elements, so we'll go ahead and break that down. I do want to point out the different trim levels that you can get this in though. You have two trim levels and that is going to be all. So you have the XLE trim and you have the limited trim, which is what we have with us today. So this is a fully loaded version. Now, as far as some of the design elements, so up top we do have a really low hood. We also have this element right up here at the top. This is a black contrast piece, which pretty cool looking actually. I'm a big fan of that. If we drop down to the lower area, we have a black piece going in between the two different body color elements. We also have chrome intersecting between the headlights. The headlights are going to be full LED on every single bZ4X. Since we have the limited trim level, we do have the projector style, so it has almost like a crystal-like design. I really like the way that those headlights look. If we drop down to the lower fascia, all of the bZ4Xs are going to look like this, and you do have a little bit of chrome accenting thrown in for the limited model. Now let's go ahead and talk about another unique design element of the bZ4X. You're going to have all of this area in this black shiny plastic that of course does contrast very nicely with this paint on this particular model. It looks even cooler if you go for like a white color or a red color. It looks really neat. Also, it shows you how aerodynamically focused it is. You can stick your whole hand through there to make airflow maximized. Now, as far as the wheels, we are going to have 20-inch contrast alloys for the bZ4X Limited, which I really like the design of these wheels. The XLE would have standard 18-inch alloy wheels. Then coming up here to our mirrors, they are going to be fully loaded as standard equipment across both trim levels. So that's going to include blind spot monitoring, power folding, heating, pretty much everything that you're going to need, they are throwing in as standard equipment. Now, in terms of the length of the bZ4X, we're looking at 184.6 inches in overall length, which is around 4 inches longer than a Toyota RAV4, about 8 inches shorter than a Highlander for reference. So it kind of fits in between those two models if you're looking for something to kind of compare this to size-wise. I want to point out for the limited model, you are going to have the option to get the two-tone roof. I really like that element. It provides further contrast along with like the wheel arch element as well. And then if we come back to the rear design, once again, pretty unique looking for the bZ4X. A lot of EVs have some crazy design elements. This is going to have a few of those as well. So let's break that down. Up here at the top, we have a spoiler setup that is really unlike anything I've ever seen before. It juts out, points in, and then comes back out, and it's also raised quite a bit above the glass. And then we're going to have a second spoiler right here in addition to that. And then we have full-length LED taillights. These are going to be standard on every single bZ4X. They go all the way across. We have LED turn signals, LED brake lights. It does look like the reverse light might be non-LED. I'm not exactly sure about that, so comment your thoughts down below. Limited badging. Then if we go down to the bottom, this is going to be a matte black plastic. Of course, we do not have exhaust pipes because this is an EV. Now let's talk about your safety systems and the warranty information. We're going to have all of the safety systems as standard equipment, as you would expect. So we have forward emergency braking with pedestrian detection, lane keeping assist, auto high beams, as well as adaptive cruise control. Now, in addition to that, the warranty is Toyota Signature Warranty, 3-year 36,000 mile basic, 5-year 60,000 mile powertrain, plus 2 years and 25,000 miles of complimentary maintenance. But guys, let's go ahead and check out the interior of the bZ4X because I know there's a lot of cool elements inside of there. Alright guys, so we hopped into the interior of this bZ4X and we'll talk a little bit about it in general and then we'll break down some individual elements going on with this cabin. So overall, the design is certainly very unique. Once again, it doesn't look like any Toyota product I've ever seen before. There's a lot of angles, there's a lot of cool elements just jutting out. It has a very unique look to it. Now let's go ahead and break down the material quality, and I'll start that out by talking about your seating. So for the XLE model, so the base one, that's going to come with fabric, and that's going to be available in black only. If you go for the limited, like what we have today, you get the full Softex leather seat, which is a really nice faux leatherette. I mean, it really does feel quite premium, and that is going to be available in black or gray colors. So as you can see, we've selected the gray color. It has a really nice design to it, lots of perforations inside. Big fan of that. Memory seats do not appear to be offered, since we do have the fully loaded limited trim level, and I still don't see them on this particular model. Looking at your door trim, we have a nice soft touch up on the upper part. We also have a nice gray leatherette part for my arm to rest on, and then your windows are going to be automatic for all four. Now, as far as other material quality, we have some hard touch on the very upper part, but most of the dashboard is going to be made of this fabric-y material. I assume this is like an environmentally friendly choice. It feels pretty cool, and I do like the overall look of it. And then down here in the middle, we have some piano black plastic leatherette on our armrest portion here. And before I forget, I do want to point out that this right here, this piano black, is actually see-through. So that's a really cool design touch that, honestly, it took us a while to notice, but it is a pretty neat feature. Now, here's your key fob for the bZ4X. As you can see, it's pretty much your typical Toyota key fob, except we have a few additional buttons. We have the AC button, which will go ahead and start it up and I guess get the car cooled down, kind of like remote start, but for an electric vehicle. Push button start is going to be standard on every single model as well. Now, I also want to talk about your gauges, because that's a really unique element for this bZ4X. Honestly, I have kind of noticed that the steering wheel blocks a little bit of the gauge design, so do be aware of that. But your gauge cluster is actually back here, way back here, and it's a 7-inch display. I know you're not able to see a lot of it right now, but it is pretty high resolution. It takes up most of this black area. It's about half of the size, and then you do have a few emblems here on the side with park and ready function, so you can see the rest of it. I do also want to point out for your steering wheel, it is going to be leather wrapped on every single model, and it will be heated for the limited trim level. Now, as far as other things, let's talk about the interior storage. So if we pop open the center console here, you will have quite a bit of interior storage. Definitely enough to fit some coupons in here. Yes, I didn't bring them. I apologize. We filmed like 10 cars a day, so I'm not going to go ahead and get those out there. It's been a little bit rushed. And then up in front of that, we have a large cup holder. As you can see, I have a little bottle here that fits perfectly in there. And then, like I was mentioning earlier, you do have this area that's kind of see-through. This also doubles as your wireless phone charging pad. And Drew's now in position to talk about this center pass-through right here. As you can see, we can fit quite a bit of stuff down here. It looks like we have an umbrella. So whatever you're going to need, you can fit that in this center area. You also have a couple connections down here as well. Now, let's go ahead and look at our shifter. This is going to be a really odd shifter, honestly. It's pretty cool that the design of it, but as far as the operation, you just push forward and then twist. So that right there is drive, and then twist over to the left to operate reverse. As you can see, we do have a 360-degree camera that's going to be included for the limited trim level. Really high resolution, though. You shouldn't hit anything in this, because this is a really nice 360, as well as just backup camera in general. Then for park, you just press that button up at the top. Now, I also want to talk about the electronic parking brake. That's going to be standard. You also have brake hold, and this button right here is for your one-pedal drive, which we'll talk about in the test drive portion coming in just a little bit. Now, moving up further, let's talk about the climate controls. So we do have dual zone climate control. That's going to be standard on every single model. That's integrated in kind of in this display unit, which I really like the way it looks integrated into the screen. As far as your seating functionalities, you are going to have heated seats as standard equipment. Vented seats are included for the limited model. And then let's go ahead and check out the screen. So we're going to have a 12.3-inch screen right here. This is running the newest software, and it really looks awesome. As we've seen in several Toyotas that we've reviewed today, I mean, it has amazing performance. It's such an improvement over the previous generation of Toyota systems that we've seen. It's also going to run wireless CarPlay as well as wireless Android Auto and have a Wi-Fi hotspot. In addition to that, you're also going to have the dynamic navigation system. Now moving on up, we do have a rear view mirror. It is auto dimming. We have HomeLink remotes built in, and we're also going to have this right here. This is a standard panoramic moonroof. I do want to point out though that this is a fixed style, so this is going to be it. It's not going to open up for you. Alright guys, come on back here and join me in the rear area of the bZ4X. As far as the space is concerned, back here we're looking at 35.3 inches of legroom, a little over 37 inches of headroom. So this is going to be really on par with a lot of the Toyota SUVs. You're going to have plenty of space. This seat is adjusted to my driving position, and we're looking at, I'd say probably 7 inches or so of rear legroom. My feet can easily slide up underneath the seat, so really quite happy about that. Now, as far as other things, let's talk about the features. We have heated rear seats. That's going to be included on the limited model. And then we also have these two USB ports on this side, standard vents. And then also, we'll fold this down. We have nice central armrest, cup holders inside. And the door trim is going to be pretty much the same as the driver's door trim. The top part is soft touch. We have all the leatherette in the middle, plus a lot of door storage. Alright guys, come on and join me in the cargo area. So on the limited model, we do have nice power tailgate. As far as the cargo space is concerned, back here we're looking at 27.7 cubic feet of capacity behind the second row. I was not able to find a full figure with the seats folded. However, I can't imagine it would be any less than around 50 cubic feet. It looks like it's a pretty spacious cargo department. We also have 60-40 split folding rear seats. But guys, that's going to be pretty much it on the outside of this bZ4X. Let's go ahead and take it out on a spin and see what this electric vehicle is all about. All right, there is up to 60 miles an hour in the bZ4X limited all-wheel drive. So as you can see, that acceleration there is quite swift. This is not going to be as powerful as some of the other EVs that you've seen, but they are going to be more expensive than this bZ4X. I'd say this is on par with the ID4 that we tested out earlier this year.
Right, this is making 214 horsepower, and what Toyota's doing with this is targeting the mainstream. At 214 horsepower, that's certainly more than your average RAV4 or, like I said, mainstream crossover vehicle. And in terms of accelerating, you're going to notice that instantaneous electric torque, just like any electric vehicle. So it actually feels pretty spiffy, and more than adequate for the average Joe's needs. That's for sure.
I'll give you a quick lane change demo here.
Yeah, even when you're already going fast, plenty of passing power.
Yeah. And like Drew said, I think that's a really big takeaway from the bZ4X, is that this is going to be a more mainstream electric vehicle going against something like the RAV4, and to have all that electric torque on board is really going to have a big benefit if you've never been in an EV before.
Now, like Mesa was mentioning, we are in the all-wheel drive model, which does mean you have some differences on board in terms of your battery. They're actually a different type of battery, a different capacity. So what you're looking at is a 72.8 kilowatt hour battery, lithium-ion battery with the all-wheel drive model. Like I said, that was 214 horsepower. If you choose the front-wheel drive model, you are going to reduce that power just a little bit. The battery pack's going to be 71.4 kilowatt hours and a total output of 201 horsepower. I don't know if that's going to be, enough that you really notice the difference too much, but just be aware you do have a little bit of different power options if you choose front-wheel drive or all-wheel drive. Furthermore, that does also impact the charge rate just slightly as well. So your maximum charge rate with the front-wheel drive model is going to be 150 kilowatts versus 100 kilowatts with the all-wheel drive model.
Alright guys, since we are on the highway here just outside of Dallas, Texas, I do want to talk about our ride quality for the bZ4X, because that's an important part part of this, like we said, you know, this is basically like an alternative to maybe getting a RAV4, an electric version of that. So let's go ahead and talk about the family component and how good this is to drive. Cruising along here, this is our first time behind the wheel of the bZ4X, and we're very impressed by the ride quality. The seats are really comfortable, and the ride quality seems to be really, really good. A lot of these electric SUVs can be a little bit on the sporty side, and this seems to be a little bit more comfort-oriented and just focused on the maximum comfort for you and your family.
What do you think about that handling there, since we're on an on-ramp? There's not going to be a lot of corners here in Texas, but...
You know, just going back and forth, I mean, for an SUV, it actually has pretty good dynamics. Now, like I was mentioning, this is more comfortable, or more comfort-oriented than something like a Mustang Mach-E, a Tesla Model Y, Kia EV6. That said, it still does have pretty darn good darn good driving dynamics, excuse me, because this is an electric vehicle. So if you're used to driving a RAV4 or a traditional compact SUV, you're going to be impressed that these EVs have a lot better dynamics, because it has that the heavy battery along the bottom that really weighs the car down and helps you to have better dynamics than what you would expect.
Right, low center of gravity does a lot for vehicles. It seems like the steering is pretty sharp and responsive.
Yeah, it's definitely very light, but that's to be expected out of a family crossover like this. But it does have good feel, and it's very quick responding. So,
all right, guys, we're going to be going a little faster than normal because we're on the interstate today. But let's go ahead and get a sound level reading. It's relatively smooth right here.
Try and slow her down to about 65.
Yeah, let's go 65. Alright, we're setting at 62.8. It really held at that for several seconds there. So considering we are going quite a bit faster than our normal sample, but we're only just a touch above 60, seems like a pretty good reading. You know, from experience, it sounds pretty quiet in here. I'm not noticing anything, you know, too much road noise or anything. It's pretty insulated. And, you know, just electric vehicles, of course, you don't have the engine to listen to, so...
automatically makes it a little bit quieter, right?
Right. That in itself definitely does make things quieter. And when Mason was accelerating earlier, you do have a little bit of a sound effect, which I think was a nice, tasteful one. Some of the sound effects are a little crazy these days, but I think having a subtle sound effect does help you with the feeling of acceleration and, I don't know, just having a more normal
traditional
feel.
Yeah. And we may be in Texas, but we still need to do our signature element of slam dunk and airball. So for a slam dunk today, I think really the biggest thing about the bZ4X that has impressed me, and I think that consumers are going to appreciate and really like, is the fact that it's really not too much different than a traditional gas-powered car. I really don't think you would have much trouble transitioning from a RAV4 hybrid to something like this by any means. It's not earth-shatteringly different, you know, it's not crazy, you know, don't even push the button to start or whatever. It's, you know, it's a normal
approachable
car.
I think is the right word for it. This is more approachable than some of the super high-tech, crazy electric cars that, while they're cool to a certain set of people that are thinking about, you know, switching to an electric car for the first time, it can be intimidating, and I think this one is a lot less intimidating than some of those rivals. Now, on the airball side of things, well, I should first go ahead and tell you guys the range, and then I will say that at least this specific version that we're in today, that's going to be the airball. So with the limited all-wheel drive, that is going to be the lowest range of the bunch, as you would expect, and we're going to be looking at 222 miles of range for that model. So that's definitely going to be on a little bit on the lower side compared to some of the competition, but like Mason mentioned at the beginning, less power and less range, but you do also have quite a bit of a lower price versus some of the things you might be considering, like an Ioniq 5, for example. Now, in terms of the range for the other models, the most efficient version is going to get you 252 miles. That's going to be the XLE with front-wheel drive. 228 for the XLE with all-wheel drive, 242 for the Limited with front-wheel drive.
I also do want to mention your regen ability. Since we are an electric vehicle, that's an important part about it. You do have this button right here. It looks like a little foot kicking, and that is your one-pedal drive mode. So if you're driving through the city and don't really want to use the brakes and want to maximize your regen, you can tap that down there, and it is quite aggressive. You know, if you just let off the throttle, it's basically like pushing the brakes, similar to what you see in other electric vehicles, like our Tesla Model 3, for instance. And you can turn it off if you prefer a more traditional feel.
Right, it's just as easy as pushing that button on or off. Let's go ahead and discuss the pricing, because we've been kind of alluding towards that, pretty good price point of this model. So let's go ahead and discuss it. The XLE front-wheel drive, that's going to be the base model, is $42,000 even for the MSRP. That's going to go up through the range until you get to the Limited all-wheel drive. What we have today, that's going to be $48,780. However, both of them so far do qualify for the $7,500 federal tax credit. Toyota has sold quite a few electrified vehicles, but as of when we're filming this video, it does qualify for the full tax credit.
So what do we think about the all-electric and all-new Toyota bZ4X? Well, besides the name, I think that this is a really, really cool car. I think really this vehicle's mission is to kind of transition people. It's like it's a full step to EV, but it's a little bit of a half step because it feels more like a traditional vehicle than some of the other rivals do. And it's also going to have a lot more of an affordable price tag than some of those models, especially if you go ahead and get one now before that $7,500 federal tax credit expires. You're going to be looking at a very attractive price point of well under $40,000 for the vast majority of bZ4X models, especially if you go for one lower equipped with front-wheel drive. So overall, I think this is a really impressive product, and we look forward to maybe testing this out even further back home in Lexington.